Welcome back to our season wrap up. First off, thank you so much for coming along with us on this journey. This season has been, in my opinion, it's been great. Like, there are so many memorable conversations I feel like we've had. What do you think, Heather?
Yeah, it's been an incredible season. And again, we've been so lucky and blessed with the guests that we've had. I feel like they've just led to these really deep, incredible conversations where I've learned, and I hope that you guys, as listeners, have learned too. And I think they've highlighted such important points and trends in the field.
And one of the things that like I really have appreciated about this season is that as we've had different survivors sharing their stories, I mean, they really have been very different stories, and each one has something that's like a little bit that they feel like a little bit more passionate about. And
Yeah.
I just like I think that's so important because as we've seen, too many times there are victims of sexual violence who don't recognize that they are victims, don't recognize what happened to them was abuse. And so I think it's so helpful to have like so many different stories, so many different kinds of stories,
Yeah.
because someone's going to be like, oh my gosh, I did not know I was raped. No wonder, like, I have had such a hard time. Like, my grades are flailing, or, work is just like overbearing, or like I look at my kids and I know I love them so much, but why is it so hard for me to be there for them? So I feel like it is so helpful to have so many different stories from like different angles coming in.
Yeah. I agree. And I think it's so important too that we share, we're doing what we wanted to, right? Which was share this platform, really, Elizabeth, that you've created through all the work that you've done as an advocate and a person in the field talking about your story, but also just making way for other survivors to come through. So we have this platform as a foundation. It's so important to me. And I know this is like one of our values and things that we hold true as the foundation is like using this platform for other people when they are ready to tell their story, when they want to tell the world what has happened to them, that we can help support them in that journey and that we can provide like a safe space for them to be able to do that through the podcast. So for me, having survivors on and the survivors that we've been able to talk with and bring on the season, that is just always going to be such a highlight and a special thing and close to my heart. And those are some of my favorite episodes, of course. Like we have incredible people and speakers and guests come on, but those are some of my favorites.
Oh, me too. But also, like, you give me so much credit, which is so nice of you. I appreciate that so much. But also, like, I feel like we owe so much to like all of the people who show up day in and day out, who are not in the spotlight, but who show up for survivors, the people who work in victim advocacy centers, the forensic interviewers, the forensic nurses, the therapists, the friends, the family who are trying to be, trauma informed, who are trying to build that safe place for victims to land, to be able to share their stories and feel like they are loved and supported. So, I mean, this for me, as kind as your words are to me, like I feel like this is really an effort that everyone needs to take on and help build a better world.
Well, I agree. And I think that is kind of like to me, if I had to talk about a theme of this season, like kind of what was a theme or what's something that stuck with you, I think two things kind of stick out in my mind. And one is that everyone has a role in this fight against sexual violence in this field. And whether it's like awareness, education, or being, or supporting a survivor in their life or advocacy, right? There's so many different things people can do. And I think that is one theme that we've kind of seen this season through the different guests and the different discussions that we've had. You're right, is the power of community and the fact that you, like every single listener, listening to Smart Talks right now is a part of that community and has a role to play. And then the second thing that I would say is kind of like a theme that I take from the season is that healing is about healing and really that it's never too late. And just taking the first step towards healing is starting to heal from your experience. And I think we've everyone that we've talked to, healing has been such a big part of pretty much every conversation and every guest that we've had on, which I just think is really neat. Because again, that's something that we stand for. That's what we want to do and be for survivors. So it's just naturally kind of come across, I think, as a theme this season.
I also feel, I mean, I don't know that you could have healing without including hope in that. And I feel
Yeah.
like, even when we spoke with Gabor, where he was like, you have memories even from when you are a baby that can affect who you are today. And like, you may not consciously remember them, but like they still affect who you are.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was kind of like, like that's like, that almost makes it seem like you're doomed. But
Yeah.
even he, at the end of our conversation with him, he's like, but we have every reason to hope. Like
Yeah.
there is still hope that, this does not need to change. Um, like your outlook on, like, this does not
Yeah.
need to like doom your life. Like there is still hope. And I think I really appreciate that. I felt like everyone also with that message of healing, they also had a message of
You're
hope.
right.
That was
Totally.
that was special to me.
Thank you for listening to Smart Talks. This is a quick break to say thank you to one of our sponsors. This season of Smart Talks with the Elizabeth Smart Foundation is sponsored by Minky Couture Blankets. At the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, we know the power of comfort and safety, and that's exactly what Minky brings into every home. Their blankets are luxurious, so soft, beautifully made, and designed to wrap you in warmth because everyone deserves to feel secure. We're so grateful for Minky's support in our mission to end sexual violence and to empower survivors. Treat yourself or someone you love to the comfort of Minky and join us in supporting a safer world. Use code ESF, all caps, for 50% off your order today.
Yeah, that is so special. And I think you're right. I think as big as I think sometimes we can be so weighed down, I think working in this field, it can feel like, oh my gosh, it's like slow as molasses, like in terms of like the change and the difference that we're making and all of that, right? But I think you're right. Those moments and that hope that is instilled in us is what keeps us going and is what fuels us. And you're right. Every single person that we talk to, no matter how big the issue or like what their angle was, whether it was like a personal story, right? Their own story, or whether they, like Dr. Madsen, were looking at the numbers and the research, which can be so overwhelmingly depressing because it's just the prevalence is so staggering, right? But even with that, she was like, we're not giving up. Like there's so many things that we can do. So you're right. There really was this undercurrent of hope throughout in every conversation that we had, which is great, which for me keeps me going.
No, totally. Because I mean, I think you're absolutely right. This is like such a dark, heavy topic. And I feel like I mean, for me, like when I consume media, like a lot of times in movies, I feel like it's just like a plot filler or
Mhm.
it's put in for entertainment, and part of me just feels like this is so inappropriate. Like,
Yeah.
and then as I'm sitting there thinking like people are watching this kind of violence, these crimes, like that's what they're watching before, that's the last thing going through their brains before they go to bed. Like what kind of world are we living in? So for me, sometimes I'm like, this is really overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
uh this is this is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to stay in this space. But then, we have conversations and interviews like with Summer Willis, where
Yeah.
she talked about the Summer Willis Act that had been trying to go through for 10 years. 10 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like nothing should take 10 years if it's like a worthy piece of legislation. But she did not give up. Like she joined the fight and literally crawled a marathon on her hands and knees,
Literally.
pushed it through.
Yeah.
Like that to me is so inspiring. Like we're not alone. We can keep
Yeah.
going. We're not the only people like fighting the good fight, as they say.
Yeah.
And I just so appreciate and love that.
I love that too. I think Summer's interview was special for me because I had kind of followed her story in the media a bit. So I had been like, who is this incredible woman? Right. I think the first time I heard about her was when she had started the marathons. so it was this news piece that I kind of saw and came across, and I was like, this is incredible. Like, this is her goal, is to do 29 marathons in a year. And she's doing it to raise awareness about sexual assault and violence, but then also she's sharing her story. And we talk about that so much. That's so vulnerable. It takes so much bravery and courage. It's so scary. And so automatically I was like, I love this woman and love what she's doing. But the awareness that that created and the trickle down effect for, this act, and what a moment for her, for this act that literally, it was a law that literally kept her from getting justice from her own rape, that she was then able to turn her advocacy and her voice into overturning that and changing that law. And then she had the law named after her. Like, it is so incredible. That was like her being in the field for 2.5 years. And so it was so special to kind of hear her story from her own words, but also to see, like you said, one person can make such a difference in such time. So it's such a great reminder to us. Again, everyone has a role to play. And what she was able to do in a short period of time was truly incredible. And I'm just so excited about all the other things she said she's working on now.
At the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, we believe everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home, especially survivors of sexual violence. That's why we've partnered with Cove Security, a company dedicated to protecting what matters most. Together, we're providing free security systems and professional monitoring to survivors who need it, because safety should never be a privilege. When you choose Cove, you're not just securing your home, you're helping us create a world where safety, healing, and hope are possible for everyone. Head to covesmart.com/ESF to learn more and use code ESF, all caps, at checkout for an additional 10% off of your first order.
Well, and I just feel like, people like Summer, like so many of the other people that we've interviewed this season. You never see how far those ripples go. Like when you drop something in the pool of water. I know everyone uses that example, but it's true. It's used a lot for a reason. Like, she will never know the full amount. I'm sure she's met other survivors that the Summer Willis Act has helped, but she will never realize the magnitude of people that she has helped by the way she fought for that bill, getting that passed through. And the same with all of these other guests who have shared their stories, shared their expertise. I look at Tana Amon, like, isn't she fabulous? Isn't
Love
she
her. Love
like,
her.
she's, like, she's a neuro specialized nurse, and she just gives and gives and gives of herself, but she is such like a powerful woman. Like, she had her traumatic past, but she did not let that stop her, that she did not let that define her. And she like has gone on, and she's just like been a crusader in her own field. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
So
it fueled her.
examples.
Yeah, I loved her. And we had the opportunity to meet her before this, which was great. But like when we sat down to talk with her in her studio, Elizabeth, I could have been there all day talking with her. She's such a wealth of information. She's also just so easy to talk to. And it was so conversational. Yeah. And she's honestly such an inspiration. I think she is like such a powerful woman, and she has done and accomplished so much. She has never let her past hold her back. She's so open to talking about it. And then she's thrown herself and like dedicated her career into learning like about how that trauma had impacted her healing, her brain, right? And that's what her and Dr. Amen do. But yeah, I think I was so grateful that we got to speak with her. And like I said, I feel like we could have been there all day talking to her.
Honestly, I felt that way about everyone.
True.
Like, I was just like, just keep going. Like, I'll just sit here.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm going to sit and listen to you. It's
We'll
fine.
learn from you. Yeah.
You don't need me. Just keep going.
And one story that we had that was like that, I think where you and I think it was actually funny when I was like reading back and like watching some of the footage and Jordan and I were looking at editing. One of the stories where we were like so quiet, like you and I were like, just talk, we're here, was our very first episode with Cammie. Cami Johnson, who was a survivor. So I wanted to bring hers up because you said something earlier about the ripple effects too. And the really cool, like, I guess a behind the scenes story for everybody about Cami that we didn't even know, like you and I did not even know this until she came to the studio in person, was that she had been following the foundation and she had been a part of the We Believe You campaign that we had. That was like a social media campaign, and we had t-shirts, and she told us, and she actually brought with her, it was the sweetest thing, but she told us all about how she found the foundation as she was going through, like in the beginning of her journey through everything, and she was starting to speak out, and how that gave her so much like encouragement and hope. And she had her t-shirt with her We Believe You t-shirt that she showed us. And so it was so cool because it was one of those moments for me, but I think for us as a group, to be like, it like the ripple effects, like we usually don't see all of those things, right? But to see it there in the flesh, and to this survivor that we, happened to connect with, we didn't even know the past. It was just so neat. So that was, and it really like filled me up. And I won't ever forget like the conversation that we had with her, because again, like you said, we were sitting there and we were like, yes, talk more, say more. Like, I think I even forgot to ask some of my questions. Yeah.
I know this season has really been incredibly special, I feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I think, um, so when I think back, I guess my question for you too is, what is what episode or what guest do you feel like you learned the most from, if you had to pick?
Oh, I don't know.
I know
I
it's
don't
hard.
know. I mean, like, I feel like I learned something from everyone. I feel like I
Yeah, all of
connected
our
with
guests.
everyone on some level. Um, Hmm.
Or
And it
did you
was
have
in
a
like
favorite
it was
one?
in different ways, like we had experts in the field, so they came on to like talk about the education aspect, which I felt like is so helpful to like understand the science behind
Yeah,
things. Um, but then also just like the stories. Like
yeah,
I feel like I always say it, like the stories, I remember the stories. I don't
yeah.
always remember the numbers or like the exact statistics, but I remember the stories.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bitch Sticks, a brand that puts its money where its mouth is. They create lip balms, skincare, and self-care essentials that actually do good, funding programs that provide meaningful support for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. At the Elizabeth Smart Foundation, we believe in turning advocacy into action. That's why we're so excited to partner with Bitch Sticks. Together, we're transforming something that once carried pain into a symbol of strength and healing, helping survivors rediscover their worth and reclaim their voices. If you want to support a mission that matters, head to bitchsticks.com and use code SMART20 for 20% off your order. That's bitchsticks, bitchsticks.com, and enter code SMART20 for 20% off your order.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
agree
Do you
with
have an
you.
answer?
I think well, we've talked about some of my favorites already, but I think I was so excited. This is like kind of embarrassing, but I've followed Dr. Mate's work for a long time. So for me, it was like a big deal that he agreed to our interview and that we were going to get to talk to him. And I again, you're right. So
I told you
many.
to call him Gabor.
I
So
know, I know. I shouldn't be. You're right. Good catch. Good work. So I think for me, it was just such a full circle moment to be like reading what he has published and work that he has done that has influenced like our programs, the way that we work with people, the way that we support survivors, and just our understanding of, I think, shame and healing and the reasons why behind things, right? And what trauma does to the body, right? All these things. And then to like hear it from him. And he is just so incredibly wise. And every question that we asked him and everything that we talked about, he had a real life example to help us understand it in a deeper way. And I think that is just
I will
such a
say
skill.
was very helpful for me because I think you like were on level with every word that he said, but sometimes I was like, can you like bring your like level of talk down just a little bit. So when he gave those examples, I was like, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
It made it so applicable.
Yeah.
And it made it easier to understand. And I just think for everyone, because sometimes, reading through, like you said, having these experts come, so like him, having Jeff, a cyber, like how we protect our kids, having Dr. Madsen come on, having these experts, sometimes it is hard as a normal person to like read these published journals and articles and things, and then relate it back to like my life or real life. And so I think you're right. It is so helpful when they come and give those examples, because then we know what that means for our everyday life, or for any person in our life, right? It doesn't have to be a survivor. A lot of these things that we're learning and that we're hearing about can be applied to just relationships, like healthy relationships in general, and how we interact and support and care and love and show compassion and empathy to people in the world.
Oh, I agree completely. Absolutely. I mean, I hope that everyone who listened to these podcasts, like, I understand not everyone is going to connect with every story or every episode. And sometimes maybe you have to turn it off and walk away because maybe it hits a little bit too close to home. And I can understand that. And I don't think there's any shame in that. Um, but I do hope that there was at least one thing or one person or one episode that spoke to each of our listeners.
Me too. As we think forward to, I guess, another question that I kind of have for you, and I'm putting you on the spot here because we did not talk about this in advance, but kind of where do you see, like, what do you see the future? Because I think we've talked so much about like how much we've learned and having these experts come on. And again, we are so grateful to every guest who agreed to come on to tell their story or to share their knowledge, just to give us and gift us their time and their perspective. So my hope is that we have more people who agree to do that. But we've kind of shifted the way that we've done Smart Talks in that way, because for the last 2 seasons, we've done it this way. So I kind of want to know from your perspective, like, what do you hope is next? Or what do you like, where do you see Smart Talks like shifting, or like in terms of the future?
Oh, yes, you are rather putting me on this spot. I mean, honestly, like I am like I guess I'm just like caught up in this current season right now. But I mean, some of the conversations that we had this past season, I feel like they could really like influence some of the future things that we do.
Yeah.
Like again, Gabor, like, maybe we can convince him to help us create some further education, like
Love that idea.
being trauma informed in the workspace, or just like in your like if you're just an everyday person and someone feels safe enough to share with you what they've experienced, and you're like, hang on, I don't know what to do with this. I mean, I always compare it to, it's like when you go to a funeral and there's someone there that you love and you're just there to support them, and they've lost someone that they love, and you see like your friend or your family member is like standing there suffering, and sometimes you're going through like the viewing line and you get up to your friend or your person that you love, and like, what do you say besides like, I'm so sorry for your loss? I mean, after you've heard those words 1,000 times, they don't mean that much to you anymore. And so like part of me is like, oh, I would love to like pick Gabor's mind and like help work out like some more education and like be able to provide that to the world, so that should a survivor come and disclose to you, you're not just like, oh my gosh, are you sure that happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are you sure? You're like, well, why didn't you speak up sooner?
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Uh, well, I know your perpetrator. Like, they've always been really nice to me. Like, I mean, there is a world of wrong in all the
Yeah.
responses I just gave, but I can see how innocently people might respond that way simply because they don't know and simply because they don't understand. And I'd love to work on that. I'd love to change that.
Yeah. I love that idea. You're right. I think so many of the conversations we had will turn into future things. I mean, one of the episodes we record with Emily from Bitch Sticks, that directly turned into a partnership with them on something slightly different than, what you're talking about, but expanding our We Believe You platform and survivor stories and like getting survivor voices out there. So you're right, that has like a future and longer term impact as well, which is exciting. I think
So
for me, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so I'm just like really excited for our future.
Me too. I think I want to continue to learn. Like, I think every guest that we have on, to your point, like every guest, I learn something about healing. Every guest gives me hope. And then I just want to learn deeper and be able to share, I think, more perspectives with people of things happening in the field. And I think one idea we've kind of toyed around with a little bit that I think might be interesting to explore is maybe looking at current events and like what is happening in the world, right? Because I think so many people we've talked about, so many people don't understand that this is happening. They don't understand how pervasive, they don't understand how prevalent this issue is. They don't know because maybe they've never cared to ask if a person in their life, right, has experienced this. And so that is part of the purpose of our podcast, is bringing awareness, education, perspective, showing, teaching. But I think also what is happening in the world and with current events can also help to bolster that. So like France just updated their rape and consent law. And I think that is so fascinating. And it's as a result of everything that's been happening in the media and a really brave survivor coming forward, telling her story. And she's gotten so much hate. She's gotten, but she persevered. They changed the law. And again, Summer, another great example of that, right? So I think that might be like a fun angle to look at some of this, because I think that could really help change the hearts and minds of some people that maybe don't realize how big and how often and how common this is happening.
I agree totally. So to everyone listening, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for another great season. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. We wouldn't be doing this without you. So thank you, and we'll see you soon.
That's it for today's episode of Smart Talks, brought to you by the Elizabeth Smart Foundation. Thanks for joining us as we dive into these important conversations about creating a safer, more compassionate world. We hope that what you've heard challenges you to think deeply, feel more compassionately, and see the world through the powerful lens of a survivor's truth. If today's episode resonated with you, or if you know someone who would benefit from hearing this, please share it with them and consider subscribing. And leave us a review wherever you're listening. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. If you would like to support, you can make a one-time or recurring donation of any amount at elizabethsmartfoundation.org/donate. You can also find more resources and ways to get involved on our website. Thank you for listening and being a part of a community that listens, believes, and works together to create a future where no one has to suffer in silence.